Please listen carefully.
Hello, universe. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Summers McKay.
And I'm Kristy Jansen, and we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help make it one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy podcast. Today is Wednesday, the 7th of April, 2021. Good morning, Kristy. How is California today?
It's awesome. I feel like it's an awesome day here in California. It's just weird to me to think that you're not here anymore. You're our resident Texan now.
I am. I am a Texan.
So California is exactly like it was when you left, only it's spring. So they're starting to get buds on all the trees. My little orange tree is just starting to blossom, which is beautiful. So I'm happy and I'm well, but I'm curious about Austin. What's going on over there?
All right. So everything is good here in Central America, Austin, Texas. Likewise, the trees are budding and the birds are flitting and the grass is growing, and we haven't yet figured out how to cut our grass. And there's a lot of grass. But yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous here as well. My voice is feeling better, although it does still sound a bit strained, but we are on the mend. But Kristy, I just want to go back for a second. This is one of the first mornings in a very long time that I have greeted you and asked how you were, and you said unequivocally, awesome. You have some joy and some lightness, and I just want to say good job. I'm happy to hear that in your tone.
Well, thank you for pointing that out. That's interesting. I wouldn't have picked up on that. That's why having conversation is so important, because we all kind of get locked into where we are, and we don't have the perspective of another person's point of view sometimes, you know? But I do feel like the cleanse that I'm doing is really, I woke up this morning, it was the first time in months, and I don't even remember how long, that I did not feel that grogginess in my head. You know, usually I pull myself out of bed and I have my cup of coffee and, you know, then I'm okay. But this morning I woke up with like this clarity of mind. It was almost like I can look at the world without squinting today. And I realized I've been squinting at the world for a long time. And that is it feels good to have that lightness. You're right. It is lightness or clarity. So I'm looking forward to continuing on this path. And yes, thank you for pointing it out.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that joy in your voice. My day is a couple hours ahead of yours, obviously. So I have chosen my Optimist Daily story based on what I did with my morning. So I went to our local grocery store, and, they say everything's bigger in Texas, and boy, oh boy, is our local grocery store enormous. It's a chain called HEB, and it's not particularly far from my house, but I was going through and kind of finding different foods, and, so much is just available, right? No matter where you are in the country. One of my favorite finds this morning was this massive package of pre-made zoodles. So on the menu tonight for my family are going to be zoodles and salmon. It's going to be a very, very healthy meal. But one of the things I was looking at and kind of considering was, how do I continue to have a more sustainable life, right? Like the composter is on its way. I'm trying to make sure my cat litter is sustainable, and, bird feeders and trees. And so what's a way of increasing sustainability in nutrition for my family? And of course, we like some of those old natural grains like the quinoa and, chickpea pasta and stuff like that. But the headline today that I actually found very inspiring reads, Patagonia wants to bring breadfruit to your local grocery store. Now, Kristy, you may recall a few months back, I was watching the Zac Efron documentary series on Netflix. Remember?
Sure.
The world. And one of the things that he and his compatriot Darren discovered in one of the episodes was breadfruit. Breadfruit has been, a staple food in places like Hawaii It has a bread-like starchy consistency. It smells like baked bread, but it's never hit mainstream American food simply because it doesn't have a substantial shelf life. It's a fruit. It's a fruit that when it comes off the tree, it doesn't last long, right? You can't refrigerate it and send it on, a boat or a truck somewhere. What's really, really interesting is that Patagonia, which is one of those companies that we love at the Optimist Daily, Patagonia, IKEA, I think there are plenty more we can talk about, but Patagonia has, even though they're an apparel company, have been investigating into ways of creating increased sustainability in diets since 2012. They have this part of Patagonia called Patagonia Provisions. So the goal is a more sustainable food system and cutting carbon emissions from the atmosphere. Breadfruit, it turns out, grows in more diverse environments and actually can contribute back into the soil system. So the way that it's farmed is very efficient.
Yeah, and those are the agroforests. I think we've
Exactly.
talked about that before,
Yeah.
where it's different layers horizontally, not just vertically, but
Right.
horizontally. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're not exactly, you don't just have a row of breadfruit trees. You have a bunch of stuff that's all working together in effective agroforestry. So anyway, Patagonia's trying to solve this problem of shelf life. They partnered with a women-owned, female-owned farm cooperative to create a new supply chain that grows the fruit, dries the fruit, and mills it into a flour. It's just really, really exciting. And basically, the efficiency of these trees is that one single tree can grow as much as 800 pounds of fruit every year, and they can provide income for small farmers and a key source of local food. So Patagonia Provisions does currently have a line of crackers made out of the breadfruit flour and is researching other potential uses for the ingredient. I just love this story. I love the idea of looking at more effective and efficient ways of feeding our world. And, I can't wait to find breadfruit flour in my aisle.
No, I think it's interesting. And if you pound per pound, it actually uses less labor, less resources to grow than rice or wheat do.
Yeah.
So we're used to eating wheat flour or rice flour in our crackers and whatnot. I wonder if it's gluten-free, because that's one of my issues, right?
I mean, I feel like it would have to be. I don't know. I'm going to Google that while you tell us about your story.
Speaking of food systems and how we sustain ourselves, I like that Patagonia has a division. It's interesting for a company that's just a clothing company is branching out into this area. But it is one of those essential things that, food is one of our basic necessities, right?
It is free, by the way. Just Google it.
There you go. Yeah. That's an interesting one. But the article that I wanted to highlight, the headline reads, "Farmers and scientists in California collaborate to minimize water use." And like food and thinking how we can get our food in more sustainable ways with a lower ecological footprint, water is one of those things that is really, really an essential resource. And in California, we've been dealing with droughts on and off for probably forever, but it's been really, really challenging in these last 20 years or so. I think there was like a 14-year drought, we're not right now in a deep, deep drought, but it's always an issue. In California, Central Valley is where a lot of the nation's fruits and vegetables are grown. It's just sort of it's not the bread basket, but it is the lettuce basket and the avocado basket and the almond basket. And there's a lot of food products which come out of the California Central Valley, not to mention grapes and raisins and other things. But together, scientists and farmers in the Central Valley have been working together to put some innovative water-saving systems in place that use water sustainably and also reuse water as sustainably as possible. And it's a conservation process that relies on a series of infrastructure changes designed to optimize the use of that water every step of the way, starting at the reservoir and then how it's distributed across the farmland. And I think this is a really important way to think about how we grow our food and systemizing and optimizing this essential resource, which is water. Institutions like the Fresno State Center for Irrigation Technology have stepped up to be really involved there, along with the growers in the Central Valley. And I like this solution. I'm interested to see how it develops. But Charles Hillier, who's the director of the center, explains that learning how to implement a water-saving irrigation system is important, I would say essential to everybody who eats in California and probably the whole country, because irrigation is now a must-have for all farms in California due to droughts. And I think in the past, there wasn't this emphasis on conserving the water. They didn't always use drip irrigation, which is one of the technologies that makes a difference. They've started using AI to be more aware of on a grid where there's problems. The technology that's coming into our farming systems is going to help boost productivity and lower ecological footprint going forward. So this is just a story about this collaboration between the Fresno State Center for Irrigation Technology, local farmers, and other researchers and agricultural scientists who are focused on how do you be so efficient with water that it's almost like a closed loop system.
Well, this is all great news in food today here on the Optimist Daily. It's funny because there was actually another show that I watched called Goliath that tapped into and talked about the abuse of water rights in California. So I'm really excited to see that both entertainment media and news media are tapping into solutions on this one. Hey guys, there's a lot more on the Optimist Daily today that you should probably read. But Kristy has a staff meeting and I have a meeting with our tech team. And so we're going to leave it to you to go check out those headlines. Kristy, do you want to take us home? Because my voice is wearing thin.
I will. And I guess I have to rush it because I have to thank everybody for listening today to the Optimist Daily Update. We promise to keep sharing positive solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in the changing world so that you can help ensure it's changed for the good. And we promise to keep covering current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and helping to offer you the information you need to chart new paths for all of us. And if you have the means, please consider becoming an emissary on the optimistdaily.com. And starting at $5 a month, you can help support reader-funded independent journalism, help us keep the Optimist Daily free for everyone who needs it, supported by those of us who can. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more solutions.
Bye, guys.